Good afternoon. Welcome to Unstoppable Agents. This is the show that real estate agents come to get tips on building their business, building their wealth, and building a life of impact and significance. I'm your host, Brian White. I am a North Texas realtor, team leader, and an agent with EXP Realty in the Dallas area. And this show, I get to do amazing things each and every week. I get to interview some of the top agents in the country. They're icon agents at EXP Realty. They're in the top 2 to 3% out of more than 85,000 agents now. So being an icon is a huge honor. It's a great accomplishment. And today I'm excited because I've got Brett Sikora with me. So welcome. Thanks
Awesome.
for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate the invite.
Yeah, for sure. So we get to celebrate you a little bit. So you just earned earlier this year, you earned your 4th icon. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. That's kind of big time. So congratulations on that. Tell us a little bit about you personally.
Yeah, totally. So and I appreciate the congrats. I've been doing this since I got my real estate license in 2007. Okay. I was 21 years old at the time and failed at it. It was a really tough market to have come into. So the reason why I tell people that too is you see where I am today, you see where you are today, and there's a lot of fight that went into that. So when I failed in 2007, I had a crap credit score. I had no money, which I hear, often from realtors. I still have no money, but for other reasons. And I went into the car business. So I was selling cars. I was young at the time. I knew how to use email. I knew how to use the internet, and I was their internet lead specialist, and everything went really well there. But in October or September of 2008, that's when the Dow started dropping. Lehman Brothers was failing. The economy was really melting down. And I was 22 at the time, and I didn't know what to do. I had not gone to college. I had to make real estate work. So I saw an ad on Craigslist that said, make $100,000 your first year selling real estate in Hoboken, New Jersey. I went in on a Friday. I think it was October 31st, Halloween of 2008. And by that Sunday, I'd done my first rental and had really just kind of started growing the business from there. So my transition from rentals to sales didn't really happen until 2013. And I tell people that my hockey stick of income didn't really start happening until 2013. I was 27 in 2013. I met who is now my wife, or started dating who is now my wife. I knew her for years prior to that, and started thinking about my future, my family, where this may go. And that just like anyone, I'm sure with you, Brian, too, you have to be crystal clear on your why. You can make 120, 140 grand a year as a 25-year-old kid. And that goes a long way until you start really digging into where you're going to spend the extra 100, 200, 300, 400, the building wealth component of this, or reinvesting in your business, whatever it is. Until that starts to become clear, you will never earn more money. You will never grow beyond that. So that's my to 2013. I was on a team, left that in 2015, started my own team in 2016. So like $13 million producer back then, and we'll do about 250 million this year in volume. So we've really, when I mentioned that hockey stick, it was just, it just shot up, and it was really driven by my why, which was, wealth, family, passive income, you name it. And then again, talking about a why, I had to take it deeper. So mine now is as many 6-figure earners in my world as I can possibly have. I'm counting how many 6-figure earners I can have around me. And that's a lot of fun for me.
Right on. That's awesome. Well, and it sounds like your why, you were telling me ahead before the show, your why just expanded a little bit recently. So you added a little girl. So was she your first?
No. So she was and actually for anybody looking to start a family, that's the importance of having systems and whatnot. So she was my second. My first came March 19th of 2021, and my second came May 4th of 2022. So they're only a year and 6 weeks apart. So I found that, definitely focusing a lot on family time and still trying to grow a business of this scale, you really do burn the candle on both ends, and having proper systems around that is super important, because I can come home, actually we were just talking about, this is my last thing of work for the day. And then from there, I go home and I get to go play with my kids until they go to bed around 7 o'clock. So it's, super important to me to keep to that kind of 9 to 5 schedule, which I'm able to do with the systems.
That's awesome. That really is great. So, we should have started off with, maybe you said it and I missed it, but I don't think I did. Where are you?
I'm kind of all throughout northern New Jersey, central New Jersey. So I was Hoboken, New Jersey, outside of New York City for 14 years. So
Okay.
a big pulse of like, that's a 1 square mile chunk. We did 192 million last year in volume. 65 million of it was in that 1 square mile.
Oh,
And
wow.
from there, we've grown out to all the burbs of New Jersey and cover basically a 90-minute radius of New York City.
That's great. So that's the classic example of, hey, you don't have to drive more than 30 minutes sort of thing for your business, because you don't. I think so often people try to chase business all over the city. You're driving hours, and that's just burning time, when really, if you go deeper with your sphere, you go deeper in a local market, you can build a huge business almost within, it sounds like you were within walking distance. I mean, $65 million within walking distance.
Correct. Yeah, we could do it all on foot. It was just a 14 block town where you could go end to end in about 14 minutes on foot.
Wow.
So
Now, are those high rises, or?
we have high rises in certain zoning sections of town, but mainly 6 stories, 5 stories is kind of what the town is comprised of.
Right on. That's great. So you built the business.
Yep.
And you built your team. So where does your business come from? Like, what's your go-to-market strategy for you guys?
Yeah. So our business comes, so through all that, we're Zillow, and this is really good. You touched on it too. It's really good for anybody listening. 40% of our business last year was past client sphere of influence. So I'm a Zillow Flex partner. We do a lot of Zillow Flex. I have a full ISA department locally here that calls leads all day long and does, everything you can think of. I have 45 agents pounding the payment, doing everything with all these inbound leads here and there. We're spending money. And at the end of it, 40% is still coming from past client center of influence. So that, and I hate to say, like, we work it well. I get, my phone rings a decent amount of times, and we have client events and everything like that. But if you were to ask me, we probably work it at like a level 3 out of a 10 and still do, was 80 million a year or something just from that one lead source. So yeah, that's we do a little of everything, but that's the one that no matter what, and coming into what now is, call it a market shift, call it whatever you want. It's really just, changing, and it's always changing. That's going to be the core of what, really, really takes agents up on the other side of this.
I had a corporate sales career prior to getting into real estate. And one of the things we talked about was the lifetime value of a customer. So that's a thing in corporate sales. Is just even in B2 consumer sales, like what's the potential value of a client for your lifetime? And it sounds like you've really tapped into that, because somebody could come back 2, 3, 4, 5 times, and that's the most profitable sale you're ever going to make. Are you spending money on postcards and events and that sort of stuff? Sure, but you're probably also enjoying doing those activities and spending time on some of those things too. So.
Yeah. And we have the mentality too. And I heard an older agent in my area say this years ago, and it really stuck with me. And it's that I may lose a sale, but I'll never lose a client. And I see so many realtors that lose out on a transaction in 2018. So they just completely write off that client, where they really should be checking in with them, because it is a marathon. And it is that I'm at the point now too, where, we're heavy on social media. So people will call me and say, hey, Brett, I'm under contract in your town with another realtor. What do I do here? So my immediate thought is like, well, why aren't you under contract with one of us? Yeah. But we go in and we provide value to them, and we walk them through the transaction. And it's my goal that if I miss that sale, that client will know to come back to me, in the future, because of the consulting approach that we take to this whole thing.
That's great. So I love that. I love that approach. So you say that you're a 3 out of 10, or that you're probably only performing at a 3 out of 10. Can you give us just a few things maybe that you do to create that repeat and referral business?
Yeah. So what we're doing right now, and we were doing it pre-COVID, and we brought it up back last fall, and then COVID spiked again in the winter. But we do client events. So we did a 4K in Hoboken in July, right on the waterfront. It was all New York City background, and we were talking about the children. My first son, he was an IVF baby. We struggled to have our first child. So with that, I knew that, hey, not everybody can just write a check for 30 grand to go have a family. We wanted to start raising money and awareness around that. So we incorporated my database. We tried to raise as much money as possible for IVF, for Revolve. We're doing a golf outing in April for the same cause. We had just a straight up happy hour back in September too, where it was like, hey, come have drinks with us. And we'll do happy hours where 50% of the bar tab goes to an animal shelter in the area. Like that's really easy for it's always been really easy for me to invite clients to that. And then I found that it's really easy for the agents on my team now to say, hey, listen, I'm going to call 10 people today and I'm going to invite them to our happy hour in 2 weeks. And I'm going to, just remind them that we're doing this, and to tie it to a cause that has, somewhat of a meaning aside from just getting drunk.
Yeah. It's everybody wins. Everybody wins. Well, you know what's so great about that is people are also more likely to come to things. We find when we're throwing parties and doing things for our friends, at times they feel guilty. They feel like, hey, well, I'm not moving them, so I don't want to take advantage, sort of thing. And number one, they're our friends, so we just want to hang out with them. But if you give them something, they can bring, if you give them something they can contribute to, then they're more like, then they feel like that brings them joy.
Yep.
And it makes them, a lot of times they're more likely to attend. So that's terrific. And
even if people aren't transacting right now, we try to be the anchor, we try to be the beacon through volatile times, and we're there to give them whatever information, whatever data, anything that they're looking for, so they can make a decision around that. And I have a lot of people that, they have no intentions of moving, but they'll just call me once a year just to check in. How's, what do I need to know? How's this going? I'm like, it's, rates are high, inventory is still low. It's an interesting combination where it's like nothing's really giving one way or the other. And if anything, if you're looking to buy, it's like, you're paying a higher rate, but you can buy the rate down. And so we try to consult on the whole thing and just give them information that they can decide from.
That's terrific. So you started, I think you said in 2015, you started building the team. Is that right?
2016.
Yeah. 2016. Okay. So what did that look like for you when you got started? Because I know a lot of agents that's kind of that's the dream for a real estate agent, right? So everybody thinks, oh, I need to build a team. Many people, as soon as they get into the business. So what hurdle did you have to clear before you could start a team, and what made you want to start the team?
Yeah, so I was on another very large team, and I was kind of the right-hand man of the large team. So what had happened is I was hitting ceilings and hitting roadblocks within that organization where I didn't feel like either I didn't align with the decisions that were being made, or I didn't have as much control or say on how the agent should be developed and whatnot. So I left, and then first off, it's not easy to leave a team either, where systems are all built around you. So if anybody's looking to leave, definitely be crystal clear and know that it's going to suck for like probably 3 or 4 years after that to get back up to have the scale and to have the resources and funding behind you in order to build that whole system out. But for me, my first hire, I was at KW at the time. They always tell you your first hire has to be an admin. Well, I don't like to go by the rules, so I hired a buyer's agent first with no admin. And then my second hire was an admin. And then I hired another buyer's agent. And then I kind of ran from there, and it worked. We were scaling quite well, but it was me doing all the training. And then I was also still selling 40 homes a year or so, buyer and listings. So it was a lot of running around for me. And then I was still the one training our one admin at the time. And we fired another one and we're bringing them through. So I didn't really start to get like traction, I would say, and hit like a certain scale until 2021. Last year, I had my son. And that was when I stepped out of production. And that's when I could really focus in on systems around this whole thing. So what I will tell you, where I see everybody go wrong, is they develop teams that buyers agents and selling agents, or they can only fit into this one box. They're essentially assistants for the team leader. And that does not work well. That does not scale well. My team was developed where we operate more like a brokerage that has leads and has our goal is to develop the realtor in the best way possible and allow them to scale even their micro team within our team too. We even support them on that side of things. But the breakdown a lot of times is like on the political side of things, where ego gets in the way. The agent isn't willing to trade their time for someone else to develop in a better way beneath them. They're afraid of, I tell everybody, my team could be watching this right now. They could all leave tomorrow and I'll help them grow and they can go do whatever they want. They all understand that. And I'll just go rebuild it probably differently, because it's like a video game for me where I want to go play a different level. But like, I have no attachment to them doing whatever is better for them. And I tell them too, if you get to a point, this is a really good way to lead a team if anybody's looking to grow it. If you get to a point where you're paying me a split and you do not feel value, I want you to immediately call a meeting with me and tell me why you're not feeling value and allow me to correct it. Because if it's you experiencing that, and you want to come up, you're not the only one that's having that experience. So we like feedback. We used to send anonymous surveys out to our team, and we stopped doing them anonymously. I want to know. I want you to like really feel open about speaking about something that's not going well. Our most recent survey is, if you could fix one thing in our organization, what would it be?
Yeah.
We're going to compile that data, address their concerns. It may not be something I'm going to fix today, but I tell them it's on my docket, and we'll move through it when we hit a certain number of sales or something like that.
Sure.
Yeah.
What's great about that is there's a humility there, right? I like to say this idea of listen like you're wrong, and that's what you're doing, right? So you're having a conversation with people and saying, hey, you know what, you guys may know better, or you guys know what you need better than I do for sure. So let's talk about that and figure out a way to solve that problem. So that's terrific. We can transition, talk a little bit about EXP, because some of what you described is one of the great things about our organization, right? You've got an opportunity to help people scale. You can help people and are incentivized to help people that aren't on your team. You're incentivized to help people that are currently on your team, and then if they leave and go do something else later. So I don't know if that's what made you join EXP, but tell us a little bit about that and what caused you to make a switch.
Yeah. So one of the issues, and this is, first off, one of the benefits, I should say, of being at EXP and people being around me. So I'm not in production anymore. And then I also have a nice size downline here at EXP too. My income for my family and everything is now 100% reliant on agents succeeding around me. So that to me is a lot of value to the agents who want to use me as a resource. We have a ton of resources, but the agent themselves have to be resourceful. So you have to book time in my calendar if you want a one-on-one. Like, I'm not going to reach out to you and say, I obviously will see if something's wrong and stuff like that. But I tell the agents, like, nag me, be on me. Like, let's really push the envelope on that. And one of the big reasons why I joined EXP is when I left Keller Williams, I was doing about 46 million that year. And I was a small team, but we called ourselves Navy SEALs. Like, we were pretty efficient. We had like five guys and gals kind of pumping volume out. And then every question that I had, my team leader at EXP at Keller Williams was not able to solve my problem. It was more like, hey, go to Denver to this Jeff Glover event, pay $3,000 to sit in the front row, and you're going to learn a ton of it. Oh, and at the end of it, Jeff Glover doesn't give a shit about, can I curse on here? Doesn't give a damn about who you are and won't exchange any information from you. And you're completely dead to him at that point, unless you want to continue to pay too. So you're going to take all of your money here. My cap was $45,000 plus $3,000 royalty. So 48 grand a year in Hoboken, plus my team was all on half cap. So I'm like, we're paying this company 300 grand a year. And then, from there, how do I really get value? So that's what had me looking around. I was also their productivity coach, and I was also a member of the ALC. So I was really ingrained. I'm trying to steer this ship. And I realized, like, I'm just paying all these fees, and I'm trying to collect more fees for the company from other people. This doesn't necessarily make sense. So I thought about opening a mom and pop. And then I also was looking into EXP. So I saw that Kyle Whistle had made the move over. Kyle's somebody I'd always admired up on stage and everything at the Tom Ferry events. And we reached out. We started to get on Zooms with him, with Dan Beer, I realized, like, these guys are opening up to me. These guys are giving me their time. These guys are the Jeff Glovers, and I'm not getting charged $3,000. So I knew that for me to grow, I had to be the dumbest person at the table. And EXP gives agents access, whether they have sold no homes or whether they're selling 1,000 homes a year, to sit at those tables. There's a collaboration that just doesn't exist elsewhere. So I tell people, go start somewhere else if that's really important to you to start somewhere else, but you're going to end up needing to move eventually because you're going to max out on the value, or you'll stop growing. And that's fine too. Agents do that all the time. They stay at one brokerage for 40 years. They love the broker. They sacrifice income. They sacrifice wealth for their family because of their love for that one person. I get that, sort of. But for us, I say you could also just come to us from the get, and we'll train you as a brand new agent. And then we'll grow you up to whatever you want to be in this business, and you'll never have to leave. Oh, and we're ridiculously inexpensive to operate out of too. So like, that's kind of like, I don't know. I don't get it personally, but it really, there's a sharing and collaboration that goes on here that, like, right before this, I had an agent that's not a part of my downline sitting in my office, sitting in on one of our commercial trainings. I don't have any direct benefit to that, but when she left the meeting, I said, hey, if I can make you a better agent, then you can bring up the caliber of EXP in our area. And my goal is to make it #1 in the state of New Jersey. So you contribute to that. If I can make you better, it's going to help my agents be better. It's going to help us win more listings. It's going to help me get more agents. So that just doesn't, I have no direct dollar that would ever come from her, but I know that she's a part of the movement.
You know what? So it's what I love about what you said is we really are an entire company that's built around an abundance mindset. So if we go out and help others, if we go out and give away whatever value that it is that we have, that can't help but come back to us. But even if it doesn't, the other person is better. So that's the net good.
Yep.
And it really is being surrounded by people who believe that is, like the word life changing is thrown around too much, but it is career changing.
Yep.
Certainly is business changing. And along with that comes a lot more change. So I think that's terrific.
Yeah. And that's like one of those things, I know we're getting close on time, but that's one of those things where if you approach the consumer with that abundant mindset too, like if you truly reach out to a for sale by owner, give them your photographer, give them a playbook, give them like things to make their for sale by owner experience way better without asking for their business and saying, hey, sell it, go on your own, do your own thing. But if for some reason it doesn't work, give me a call. People will feel that. And it's just a completely different approach to how, and that's kind of, we try to go with that good book to read, The Go-Giver. I don't know if you've ever read it.
Sure.
That's our whole thing. We don't expect a reciprocity from whoever we give to. We just know that the universe will pay us back in another way. So
I love that. Brett, normally I ask people for, and maybe you still have one, but normally I ask people for a parting thought. But that was a brilliant way to finish, because if you just give generously, we always say you can't outgive God, right? So the more you give, then that can't possibly not come back to you. So it sounds like you've got that same perspective. I love it.
I'll leave it on that. So The Go-Giver, if you guys haven't read that yet, I know you said you have, read that. It's going to absolutely change your mindset around the way that you do things, and maybe read it once a year or something just to keep it fresh.
Sure.
And then my second favorite book is Fanatical Prospecting. So that's like my 1-2 punch, where if you have a go-giver mentality and you're picking up the phone and you're reaching out to people, you're connecting deeply and just trying to find out whether it's an agent, for sale by owner, expire, whatever it could be, how do I make your world better? It's going to, and with no direct attachment to a sale, it's going to just absolutely snowball the whole experience for you on this earth.
Right on. That is awesome. Thanks for joining me today. I appreciate it.
Cool. Thanks so much, Brian.